Welcome everybody to Public Works Committee, Wednesday, December 4th at 12 noon, 12:03 I believe. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Is there any of the conflicts of interest? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Drong, second by Councillor McAleer. Adoption of the minutes of November 6th. Moved by Councillor Drong, second by. Business arising from those previous minutes. See none. I have one little thing. Speed humps, is that policy already approved, the new policy? Could somebody answer that? I had a phone call on that. Or are we just gonna stay status quo with the grandfathers? Like if you had it on your street, it stays there until they don't want it anymore? Would you know? Or is that still being worked on, the policy?
So I'm not sure what the action item was from last committee meeting when it was discussed and when Councillor Bernard had joined. I'll have to take that.
Okay.
We'll take that under advisement and
Excellent.
report back next
Yeah.
meeting. The speed bumps are a summer item.
Right.
They've been pulled in
Yeah.
at this point in time, so we've got 2 or 3 months to.
Well, I was asked to ask that question, because and plus I watched that meeting and I was saying, okay. Excellent. We go right to reports. First of all, I'd like to welcome Councillor Drong, and I'm the new chair, Kevin Ramsey, and Councillor McAleer, you were here last term, I believe. So welcome everybody, Riley, Paul. I'd like to thank you for sort of jumping in too as interim manager or acting manager, wherever you want to do it. Dan, Amber, and even Richard.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we'll go right to reports, number 6. Hey, who's looking after that, Paul or?
I'll speak to it, thank you very much. Report prepared by Riley, appreciate all the staff's help as step in here for a little bit in the absence of Scott. Rectangular wrapping flashing beacons, they are used at crosswalk sites to provide additional attention to drivers, push button, lights flash. In May, we did a public tender and purchased through low bid 20 units, 2 on each side of the street, so 10 locations. Staff had been looking at that, and there is budget, and the vendor is willing to hold their price, which is probably unique in these times of high inflation. Looking to say that we would go back to that vendor for an additional 12 units. Generally they will be stored until the spring, and some of them will go to new sites as an operational plan has indicated some, and some will be there should there be any winter damage that we'd be able to replace. And we would still probably have in our budget additional purchases next year.
Excellent, and I was an advocate for something along North River Road where Waterview was for years. I had residents after me day in, day out, and they're working perfect out there. They can cross the street now to go to the path. And other ones that I see, this is just my personal opinion, they are working great. And any other questions, Sean, go ahead.
Any indication or at this point where the 12 will be going, or is that still to be decided?
So we have internally a long list of sites that are sort of on the radar for for consideration in the future. We have some ideas where they'll be used, at least some of them. It's only enough for 6 crosswalks, it's 12 units, 2 per crosswalk, so we're thinking at this point probably we'll be using 3 to 4 crosswalks worth will go to new sites, and then we'll retain roughly 4 to 6 units in stores for just ongoing maintenance, because we do have quite a fleet of them out there now. Once we have some new sites, we'll be close to 25 crosswalks with our RFB systems, so it's not a matter of if, it's sort of when they get hit or damaged. So we want to be able to replace them quickly, so having some in stock is important for us.
So is it kind of some kind of internal criteria that'll be used to kind of identify?
Staff would be hearing from the public, as well as there's a dedicated traffic count program now. We also interact obviously with the police department and hear from them, so as Riley indicated, there's probably a long list of comments that have been made on various sites. Some analysis, like I say, the department is doing on pedestrian counts, traffic counts, that sort of thing. It'd be, again, it's spring before any new ones go out, so it'd be an ongoing process over the winter of operational assessment and advising folks in the spring where new signals are going in for their awareness.
So and on the school piece, are most of those, are like, I know schools are, I guess have been I'm assuming some kind of a priority in the past, are we caught up?
For sure, so schools are definitely part of the criteria that are looked at. About a year and a half ago, we presented to the Public Works Committee a internal document that basically would guide staff on how these RFB systems would be used. That document was adopted and sort of based on national guidelines from Transportation Association of Canada and sort of tailored to the needs of Charlottetown. So that is what we use to screen crosswalks throughout the city on which ones are warranting RFB systems and other crosswalk systems as well. So that guideline is still being used. It factors in lots of different things: traffic volumes, the type of street, the neighboring community, schools is a big part of it as well. Any specific sort of pedestrian generators in the area that might increase the need for something like an RFB system. So examples of that might be like a seniors facility or daycare as well. So, and you'll notice, like in lots of them that we have deployed around the city, they're in areas that are, you know, very close to those types of facilities, or in areas where there's a sort of a missing connection between sidewalks from a subdivision to the main road or something like that. So those are all factors that kind of get incorporated into the analysis. And
So is there collaboration too with the police on this kind of thing?
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so a few of them that were installed this summer were directly a result of some input that we received from the bylaw enforcement officer and the feedback that he's received from the crossing guards. So for example, Birchwood School on Longworth Avenue, that one has been a crosswalk that the staff at the crossing guard staff have sort of made apparent to us that there's an increased need for awareness and safety. So
Just one more, so this is for an additional 12, any indication, like, if money wasn't a problem, like, how many, any idea really what the demand is? Is it another 20, was it 30, are we close to getting, have a sense of that?
So it's a good question, and it's an important question too, because we want to be somewhat selective on where they're used, because if they're overused, they sort of lose their novelty, they lose their efficacy. We don't want to be too restrictive on where they're used either. It's finding that balance. I think it's safe to say in the next year or so, we'll be able to, make a similar investment and find good spots for them. 5 or 10 years down the road, I don't know that we will need to continue, adding new sites. It may be more of replacing and upgrading what we've already done. So in the short term, I think there's plenty of demand for them. Down the road, I don't know that we need to install 20 per year for 10 years, that type of thing, but yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor John,
Good,
you're good with it? So we're looking for a motion to move it on to council or to finance. There's money in the budget, I think you said, didn't you?
There's money in the budget. Excuse me, I haven't gotten my head wrapped around our procurement process, but we would, if it requires finance approval, just for our methodology of procurement, we would do that. Confident that we're doing the proper thing, and ultimately we would bring a resolution to council under the Public Works Committee for the purchase.
Dan, if you don't mind, I think it's over 25,000.
Yeah, I think the advice would be that we bring it to finance first and then to council.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to move that on to finance? Moved by Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor McAleer. Thank you very much. Okay, next one.
Recently did a request for quotations on snow clearing for various municipal sites within the city, both operated by Public Works and Recreation. Recreation are carrying forward with their sites, which were a couple of arenas. Recommendation from the Public Works Management is the low bid on various sites under our operations. And that, excuse me, that would be to PD Construction for two sites, which are the Sherwood Civic Building, which is Fire Station 2 at $6,500 and the police station at $7,000. To DB Trucking for four sites, all at $2,800 each. And that is the West Royalty Civic, the East Royalty Civic, the Hillsborough Park Civic, and buildings, and the J. Elmer Blanchard Building on Gordon Drive. And then we would have one to Dickinson's snow removal at $10,000, which is the new works facility on Brackley Point Road. There had been a tie at that $10,000, but the contractors and the city have been in discussion, and the other bidder on that has agreed that they'll step back and allow Dickinson's to move forward. So it still is the low bid in all of those sites for the city. That, again, we would put back through finance to just ensure that we're doing everything right, and then bring forward to council as a public works resolution if approved.
Any questions on that, folks? Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor McAleer, go ahead.
DB Trucking, is there any, so that'd be new?
We have not, Public Works has not in the last 6 years interacted with DB Trucking as a municipal lot snow clearer. I'm not sure if they've hauled snow with us or not. I didn't get that far into it. We don't know anything poor about them. We would work with them on those sites and address any issues that may arise. Don't know of any reason that we should disqualify them or overlook them as the low submission.
Yeah, okay, and then PD Construction, are they kinda new?
They as well, had my file up in front of me, I don't think they have done municipal building snow clearing with us in the past, but we are semi-aware of their services to the private sector. And again, do not have any concerns with that.
So just on report details, like, so it says, the last bullet, if awards are subject to bidders providing required insurance certificates. If bidders are no longer available or cannot provide the required insurance certificate, Public Works will award to the next lowest bidder. So like say that dynamic happened on the West Royalty Civic Building, and you got two at 6,000, how do you pick, how would you determine?
What we were about to do with the low bid tie on McAleer, on the Brackley Point Road, was flip a coin. In that process, the contractors were in discussion, and like I say, one of them agreed to step aside. Similar would happen in any other ties that we might have, and we've recognized that we probably need to be a little better detailed in our RFQs about how we would break a tie. The reason you're seeing that bulletin is we're not requiring, in some cases, 5 proponents with their bids to give us all that insurance information up front with the submission. We just take the submission of price, and then we assume that they'll be able to provide us that information, but we've put that bullet in to address should the fact be that they don't get us the information or they're not able to get insurance, that we are then moving on to another vendor.
Good. Councillor Drawn, you're good?
Oh, good, yeah.
So we need a motion to move this on to finance also. Moved by Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor McAleer. Thank you very much for that. Okay, moving right along here. Transfer of budget funds, that's you again, Paul.
Have been apprised that during the summer, with some good weather, and although November was pretty rainy for us, September and August and whatever were some pretty great months too. The Public Works Department, there was some summer services that they had the opportunity, and there was an indicated need, and they extended service. That involved a longer lease on some trucks to move staff and equipment around. We now need to transfer money into that account to cover those invoices that are coming in. Manager Scott Adams had approved the additional work and had identified where the additional funding would come from, presenting that now in the spreadsheet for us to approve, and then we'll go through finance, make the budget transfers, and then the invoices will easily pass through to vendor payment. It is obviously no net effect on the Public Works budget, just moving out of an area that they're
You're going from A to B or A
ended up
or
being a
something.
little bit of extra money budget-wise to an area that it can easily be used and well used.
So there's no new money,
Correct.
correct. Councillor McAleer, how are you?
Great.
Any questions? Since you're in finance, Councillor Drawn, so another motion to move this on to finance. Councillor Drawn, Councillor McAleer. Thank you very much for that. So, where are we at now?
We have included in the package the report from the last meeting of the Civic Board for
Yes.
Persons with Disabilities. If there's any questions on that, we'll listen to them, might have to take them under advisement and get back to you, but
I sat in on, let's just say I sat in on that since I became chair of Public Works, and it was very good. They're very good people, they're like everybody else, they have their needs, and they're working on the accessible taxi thing, and we're all working as a group, but we walked away from that very positive, so Amber, I'd like to thank you for being there, and, you know, and things are going well. But they're gonna get back to us, I believe, this month? I think so. So that's what I have, by sitting in that meeting, that's what I have to report on now. Okay. Just give me 1 sec, go back to my agenda here. This introduction of new business. Is this for Councillor Draw?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We did have a discussion there about leaves that are being left on the city side of the city road. So I'm just wondering if we can discuss that, a quick discussion, if that's all right. I've been getting a lot of calls in my area. The last month of November has been wet. People didn't get their leaves. I did explain that you're allowed 2 bags of leaves with every green bin day, and it would take a little bit of time. I have called Island Waste Watch to see if there was gonna be another pickup, which they said no. I've asked administration to look into it to see if they could call to see if we could get another pickup, or we could partner with the province or do some work ourselves. I know it's not our job. I understand that, you know, there's a fee being paid to Island Waste Management to pick up these leaves, but I feel that this is an extraordinary expense towards the city because that the whole month of November rained and a lot of people couldn't get their leaves. In my area, I've driven around the ward and noticed that bags are piled on the street. And I'm just wondering, like, if the snow plows hit it to be all over the place. So I'm just looking for some direction, if we could look into something, partnering or to do something to help people out with these leaves.
Thank you for that, and as I stated there earlier too, it's all through everybody's wards.
Sure.
They're on my ward too, and I'm getting phone calls, and but would you gentlemen like to address that, or would you want to take it back? Because if we take it back for another information, it'll be another month. We'll be into January, and like, is our response gonna be that we are working with Island Waste Management at the moment? to see what is out there or what is gonna be our response? Does someone wanna jump on that one?
We have heard from councillors and the public in this regard. Senior management has reached out to directly under their job titles out to Island Waste Management to ask what they might be able to do. The Island Waste Management response, just to paraphrase it, they are scheduling their contractors 6 months ahead of time, so they, aren't able to quickly react to a wet November or leaves that come off early or leaves that come off late. We all get the little brochure in our door in July that says when they're gonna do the leaf pickup. And to get that brochure out, they've needed back in probably February or March, work with their contractors. This year, every year is going to be a little bit different. This year is what it is. And then, we struggle in the city, as has been mentioned, not a core service of the city, not something that we're collecting money for. We do recognize these are people in the city and what can we do? There's probably a little bit of work that you may see in the coming weeks, Public Works Department doing for our own benefits, and that is making sure that catch basins don't get clogged with leaves or expensive blower equipment don't have their augers jammed with something in them, sort of thing. For the public, if there was an opportunity to pull the leaves back and use them, in the old days, nobody banks their house with seaweed anymore, but bank the house or leave them on, if they haven't already pulled them to the street, they should have. If they're expecting Island Waste Management to get them. Pull them back and put them on a bed or behind a tree or into the backyard. They can go next spring. They are a naturally composting item. I do recognize that there's only so much compost we can use in our yard, depending on how many trees you have or what your yard landscaping's like when the wind blows in from the neighbors. But at this time, I guess there had been no plans and no operation changes identified by Public Works that we would be able to do a scheduled, publicly notified collection to supplement the services of Island Waste Management. There is, and excuse me, if and when Public Works does that, Island Waste Management will waive the tipping fee for us, but we have to get those leaves out to Brookfield. So in the past, if we have had any, we're taking them out to McAleer and storing them for a while until we have a full truckload that we can drive out to Brookfield for the fuel and the staff time and everything like that. Island Waste Management has obviously said beyond the 2 days per bin that they are accepting them out at Brookfield as well, or I'm not sure if there's other drop-off sites. I think that might be the only one nearby for Charlottetown. And I think they waive the tippage too, but obviously if I'm a homeowner and I'm taking a little trailer with 3 or 4 bags, it's probably not something I'm going to end up thinking is rational for me, so.
Not everybody has a little trailer either.
Yeah.
And age is a lot of things to a lot of these people. Like there is some senior residents around that had someone do their lawn and it's sort of too bad that because, as I stated earlier, up to about 3 weeks ago, the leaves are still in the trees. And then all of a sudden it hit everybody at once and it's the same in my property and streets all along Ward 5. Because we looked out the window last night, my wife even said that, we looked at the next street over, all the bags are lined up. And so let's hope that we can do something.
Just to follow up on that,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Sorry
Well,
for
welcome,
being
Your Worship,
late.
by the way.
I was at Hazel Crosby's funeral.
Yes.
93 years old, great member of the First Baptist Church. Ann Jenkins, you would remember her. No, Councillor Duran and I spoke about this. This, I think, was triggered by a resident out on Lilac Avenue, and there's other calls that are coming in. But I think Richard might have been around, I know Paul was around when IWMC took this whole waste pickup took this responsibility away from municipalities and created IWMC. And, you know, we've had some bumps and some hard roads to follow or to go down with them, but I think we should try to reach out, maybe through the director of community services, like we did there on Douglas Street or Bayfield Street when there was some lack of concern about picking up waste and compost. That'd be a matter of just reaching out to Karen to say, like, we are the biggest customer, City of Charlottetown, because of the number of pickups here and pickups that take place in the city. So I think it's worth an opportunity or a chance to reach out. I don't know if it's maybe not Paul, maybe it could be through the director or the CAO to just say, can we try to find a resolution to it? It catches up too quickly on us, and it did this year, as the chair said. So I'm just putting that on the table and see what we can do with it.
So I did reach out to Island Waste Management, they've advised that residents can add an additional 2 bundles each compost pickup to work through the situation.
To the compost?
Yeah.
Compost.
Every second week,
Isn't that not a standard thing anyway, though, or no?
yes.
I think it might be 1, but the email response I have says 2 additional bundles and then any leaves that they can get into the compost cart.
Yeah, like it's too bad, and like you received some of the emails too, your worship, from the residents that I got from my ward too, and that, like, we'll use Emerald Drive for example, which is a canopy, and there's a lot of trees there on both sides of it, and they got all their leaves raked. And that was one of the ones there, so you get 18 bags.
But Paul, you were here back in early 2000 when we did that extra pickup for the blue bags, because the blue bags in some of the apartment buildings were piling up, and we allocated some additional funding. I'm not suggesting that for the leaves or the compost pickup, but we have to think, I think we have to start thinking outside the box, maybe just for 1 year, just to get them cleaned up. But I think Richard has stated he already reached out to Karen. I reached out to Karen also, but someone else got back to me and said, well, this is the process we have to use, and it's not just for Charlottetown, it's for the whole island, because it's the Island Waste Management Corporation.
So they're not gonna bend it at all.
Well, Richard's letter, email is suggesting that you can just add 2 bags to every compost going forward, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Not just 1 week, but
which we did anyway.
Or hold on to them until the spring.
Yes,
yeah, that's a lot for some.
or drive to Brookville.
Well, I would say a drop-off center, so there is a drop-off center here in Charlottetown.
Is that out at the Superior Sanitation or
I
the
believe so.
GFL site?
There used to be, I know that, Richard, yeah.
You don't think there is?
I can't answer, I haven't
There
done for a while.
is, I
There is,
go
Bob?
there every second day, yeah. So,
Thank
You don't pay there, Councillor
well,
Drawn?
I do, but I don't know if you pay for drop-off leaves.
Yes, you would. $5 minimum and a maximum of $30 per load.
Okay,
Okay.
So were they willing to waive that?
No,
Oh.
no disposal fees will apply. $5 minimum and a maximum of $30 per load.
Like if the city took them to Brookville.
They waived that.
And I mean, I don't have that either, but
That's
that
the
may
compost
have
site.
happened in the past.
so if you took a dump truck, filled it full of leaves, it's only gonna cost you $30?
Yes.
That's pretty
That's not bad.
good, rather than taking the dump truck out to Brookville.
You look at fuel and labor.
Yeah, and I don't know if that would apply to us having a giant truck. That might have been something they did.
For residents.
Recognizing that
I don't know, you're splitting hairs, Richard.
to our
I
benefit.
think that's just for residential, the commercial is at 110 per ton.
Okay,
Yeah, no, that, exactly. That $30 load is not
Councillor
not a big
Drawn,
load.
as soon as we step into that responsibility, we're gonna be doing it year after year. And I know you weren't on council when we did have the responsibility of doing the fall, like spring cleanup. Remember that, Paul? You'd be like heaps of garbage just piling up at different corners.
Yes.
It became not only a unsightly situation, but a disastrous situation, because sometimes fire is started. So, you get into it, we're into it again. And no compensation from IWMC. They'll just say, take the expense on yourself.
Well, I mean, they do speak to that as well, right? We all pay a fee to Island Waste Management Corporation, and that fee is based on them setting a date with their contractors 6 months in advance. It doesn't include, we don't pay extra saying, okay, there's an emergency pickup. They charge what the service costs, and if we want a better level of service, then provincially, we'd have to pay more money.
Okay, you want to leave it at that, or, that's the information we got anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know, I got no answers either.
What would it cost for a contractor to do one more cleanup?
I can ask,
Can you ask that?
I can
Yeah, that's
ask
right.
Island Waste Management that question.
GFL to do it,
Yes, yes,
So, I mean,
like
if
the
it's.
blue bag, an extra blue bag that we did
yes,
back.
that's a good question, Councillor Hull, Richard, can you check into that?
Yeah, so I mean, you want me to reach out to Island Waste Management for what a cost would be to do another round in Charlottetown?
Yes,
Would you do that?
Great.
sweet,
So
IWMC
that
or
you know- So
GFL?
that you have that piece of information.
Yeah.
yes. Okay, excellent,
Thank
good
you.
discussion,
Just again,
Your worship.
under new business.
yes, sir.
Okay, just in the fleet management, I'm just trying to get some information. I know the eight new police vehicles have been ordered and they're now sitting out at the parking lot, out at the lot at Reliable. Then I saw that there was a tender that went out for the lights. Like, we didn't order the lights the same time as the vehicles. So how long will that take? Are we looking at 2 weeks, Riley, or? You can just send it out as an email.
Sure.
If that's all right, because I thought they would have been synchronized, but you got 8 vehicles that are sitting out there and waiting me.
The only thing through Public Works, it's a tender to purchase the vehicles, correct?
But it's fleet, we're responsible for fleet management,
We're in
right?
charge of the fleet management.
I would expect that both tenders were through Public Works. We will find out the background information and send out an email of response to the committee.
Excellent.
I believe there was some question as to how much equipment was going to come on the vehicles.
Oh.
So they didn't wanna order full kit in case they came with some of the components, so I think that was part of the reason for not ordering them in advance of the patrol cars arriving, so.
Okay. And just on another point, Mr. Chair, I've asked this several times, Paul, regarding the Eastern Gateway Big project, phase 1, phase 2. I pointed out that the deadlines, the timelines weren't met, and Mr. Adams told us, and I know, Richard, you were at the meetings too, that the only way that anyone that has suffered financial damages have to go through the liquidated damages portal, is that correct? Because we didn't include late fees, late penalty fees.
So liquidated damages is a part of the contract,
Right.
but I would need to review it, but any of the dates that needed to be met, I believe were met.
No, the phase 1 was to be 27th of June, I still have it in my package here. It
So,
was supposed to be seeded and landscaped.
but beyond that, then there's additional work that comes up that extends the timeline for any project. So there was additional work that resulted in timeline extensions for phase 1.
That's in the tender.
Yes.
With timelines, or just
Whenever-
open-ended?
Well, it depends on what is encountered during a project.
Right. But they were working in a project that was 50-70% reclaimed land, so you know you're gonna run into problems. Unforeseens, change orders.
So there were unforeseens and there were change orders. There were things that came up that extended the project timeline.
So, Mr. Chair, I bring this up because some of the business owners, I don't know if you've heard from them, they keep calling me or sending me emails. What portal do I use to,
That's a separate matter and for them to look into. That's not related to
separate
our
matter with the
contract.
contractor?
Liquidated damages is for the project owner to,
With the project owner?
to get funding for us from something that has gone awry within the project, not to take that money and hand it off to a third party. Like, you're talking about the private sector
Yes,
seeking compensation for a
Yes.
project that has gone over time.
yes.
That wouldn't be covered within our contract with the,
And within our contract is liquidated
Contractor.
damages.
that is something that's occurring between the project owner
Yep.
for their own direct purposes and the contractor. It doesn't involve private properties that happen to abut the project.
So Paul, just to clarify, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, project owner is the city of Charlottetown, because phase one, phase two of that project is, we're the buyer.
Okay,
Birch Hill is the vendor, so.
I'm not totally familiar with it, but
Yeah.
that is, I'm sure.
So my
correct.
question is, these operators that had significant losses, financial losses, who do they go to?
That's for them to seek.
From us or from
No.
the contractor?
No, it's a public project and typically there's no compensation for that. It's a matter of precedent across the
We-
country.
You may well, Charlottetown, I'm sure we've got experience, all other communities, you will get vendors who will say they've had significant impact from a project that went tickety-boo. But unfortunately, upgrading public infrastructure, there is short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Yeah.
And municipalities have generally, to the 99th percent, I'm sure, not been involved in compensating businesses. Obviously, we'd have to start asking them to open their books and show us what they made last year and show us what you made this year to make sure that as public dollars that we are giving to private enterprise, we are doing it in an appropriate manner. So it has been kind of, we are a community, we're bettering the community, somebody nearby is gonna feel it. Somebody far away that can't travel that route and has to go around the river is gonna feel it. But it's just, unfortunately, it's the short-term pain for long-term gain is the industry
And
standard.
Mr. Chair, this is run in parallel, as Richard knows, with the project at the Confederation Center, but we're not the owner of that project, that is the Confederation Center of the Arts. So we're only providing the zoning development and permits required for that project. Okay,
Excellent,
so there's just one last point.
really.
Yeah, and I brought it up yesterday at planning. Just on December 1st, the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, made a statement that they're wasting it all. Poilievre rejects municipal calls for more infrastructure money. And I think that's gonna hurt municipalities right across this country. As he said, we're taking the money and we're being greedy, and we're not spending it on the projects that are municipal projects. Well, municipal projects are provincial projects and federal projects, when you look at water and wastewater. As he said, municipal governments don't ever let them bullshit you. You are bursting with cash and they're wasting it all. He said in an interview with Aurora today. So is that true? We're bursting with cash and we're wasting money? You know, I'm not trying to be political, but you don't say this stuff about municipalities.
Well, they do nowadays, your worship,
well,
I mean, you and I both
I think
know
we
it.
have to take this to the FPEIM.
Yeah.
Federation.
All right,
Thank you, dear sir.
anything else on the agenda?
Chair, as new business, some new committee members, new chair, stepping in as acting manager. If there is anything in the department that, I can be researching to bring myself up to speed, to bring you folks up to speed, please let me know and, we'll do some background work and get back to you hopefully in a timely manner, depending on how many requests there are and how difficult they are.
Excellent,
Glad to have you back,
Just
Paul.
For new folks.
excellent.
The other thing is it appears that this committee has been meeting regularly, monthly, the Wednesday prior to the regular monthly council meeting on the 2nd. So we would set that meeting up. I thought I'd written down, but we would look to set up our next meeting as January 8th and send out a email
Sure.
invite to all present.
And, okay, that's fantastic, Paul, and, we're looking forward to working with you and everybody else, and Riley, and, since we're not meeting again to January, I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year that's on our committee,
Thank you.
and all the best going forward.
Any Christmas gifts?
Not yet, your worship?
Dan might need budgetary discussions between now and January 8th.
Yeah, I expect that Public Works will wanna bring the committee together again to talk about
Okay.
capital projects during the
It's
month
not a
of
problem.
December.
Capital project or the capital budget?
Your capital budget.
Yeah.
So we'll be
Okay.
discussing that.
So maybe I spoke too soon, but anyway, okay, so we're looking
Merry
for,
Christmas.
we're looking for a motion to adjourn. Your worship?
Yep.
Councilor Crowe. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.